would have thought that I would be diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm 45 years old. I'm a healthy woman. I'm not on any type of medication. I eat well. I exercise. My lifestyle, my diet, A plus. Me and my husband, my family, we moved to Brentwood, Tennessee in 2024. 2024. We moved to Brentwood. And during that time, I just, I had a lot of downtime to just kind of, face myself, do a lot of inner work. And I don't know if you all know how it is when you want to be authentic, but it is very hard because you're carrying the weight of unhealed emotions, anger, rage, resentment, unforgiveness. And that year I prayed to God to just, make me whole. It's hard to function on a day-to-day, want to be authentic, but carry the weight of all of that. So prior to that, me and my husband work on properties. We do renovations on properties, and I found this book, the same book, in 2 different houses, 2 different years. The book was called Awakening Intuition. So I got the book. I believe that was in 2012. I began to read the book, but I was so busy in my mind, I didn't have time to process and read the book in entirety. So I put the book down. I gave the second copy to a client of mine. So as we were kind of doing spring cleaning at our home in Tennessee, I saw the book, and Spirit said, "Get the book." And I said, "Huh?" I said, "God, is that you?" He said, "Get the book." So I got the book. I put the book on my nightstand, and later on that week, I picked the book up and I just opened the book. The book went to the chapter called Breast Cancer in Women. So I read the entire chapter, and every story of the women in that book mirrored my life. Type A personality, women that were, entrepreneurs, like very, very driven. A lot of them, had grief. Some of them had lost loved ones. And again, some of them were carrying unhealed emotions. So I read the book and I said, but little did I know that was God's way of telling me to get ready. And so that was the middle of 2024. Going through an insurance change, I was not able to get my 6-month breast exam. So I had to wait for insurance to kind of kick in Tennessee. My doctor told me, let's go ahead and get a mammogram because my family is quote unquote high risk. And so I said, okay. So I scheduled a mammogram in Tennessee with just a regular diagnostic imaging place. It does not specialize in breast cancer. So I got the imaging, and I was coming back to my doctor here in Huntsville to get the images read. So I called, I said, "Hey, I'm just confirming my appointment. You have my images." And he said, "Well, Miss Howe, we don't have your images." So I had to wait a whole nother month to get the imaging. Now, I didn't have any signs or any symptoms to me that was unrecognizable. If you imagine a mosquito bite you on your hand and you got that little raised spot, I just found a little raised spot. I thought, well, it's perimenopause, or I was on a coffee bender, so I thought, well, maybe it's from the caffeine. So I get to Huntsville, he gets the report, and he said, "Well, Miss Howe, the report says, well, we really don't know. It was inconclusive." He said, "So we need to start over." This was at the end of 2024, and I said, "Okay." He said, "So let's go ahead and do an ultrasound," because I didn't get an ultrasound in Tennessee. The appointment was on December 31st of 2024. I go in to do this ultrasound, and normally the radiologist comes back in an ample amount of time. It took him a minute, so I said, "Here we go." "Here we go." So he came in, he said, "Well, Miss Howe," I said, "we see something, it's small, but I'm not for sure what it is. It's the end of the year, so we don't have anybody that can come and do a biopsy for you. You're gonna have to wait till next week." So I had to go through the entire weekend thinking and hoping and praying, and just, my mind was all over the place. So the beginning of the week, which was that Monday, I went in for the biopsy. And still not thinking that it would come back to be breast cancer. Got the biopsy. Couple of days later, they called me. They said, Miss Howe, you have inductal carcinoma, invasive inductal carcinoma, HER2 positive and estrogen positive breast cancer. And I just held the phone. I literally held the phone in disbelief because I was like, it's almost like having an outer body experience. And so, and I still have those experiences pretty much all the time. So if anybody in here has been through this situation, you know that they take you so quick. They don't give you downtime. You got to get your PET scans, you get your mugger scan, get all these things. They give you your treatment plan. And it's very, very scary. So I just remember breaking down crying. I was just like, why? And, you know, I went through all those emotions. And I said, well, why not me? Because I'm a fighter. I've been a fighter since I've been on this earth. And so during that time, I was able to do a lot of healing work. I hired a trauma therapist, a frequency therapist. I did a lot of inner work. I did a lot of praying. And what a lot of people don't know about breast cancer, sometimes breast cancer is not genetics, it is environmental. And your body keeps score. Your body keeps score. So a lot of times when you see healthy people walking around and they manifest disease is because they have been holding a lot of unhealed emotions. And that is where my breast cancer came from, was unhealed emotion. So I had to face myself, and it was literally a matter of life or death for me. Probably one of the hardest things I had to do, because it shined a light on the darkest corners that we tend to sweep up under the rug, and I had to face them. And it was an awakening. It was very, very sobering to hear that and know that I'm dealing with something that can potentially, take my life. I was never scared. I was never scared through the journey. I was just more concerned because Black women are not in the data. When it comes to these treatments, we're not in the data. The data is based on predominantly Caucasian women. And so when we go in and they push these treatments on us, it's not based on us. And the small demographic of women that it is, it's so small. They say, oh, well, it's aggressive in Black women. Well, what's the percentage? What is their percentage? What was their life like? Were they stressed? Did they drink? Did they smoke? Did they have access to health care? Did they diet? Did they exercise? So there's so many questions as it pertains to the treatment. And so for me, this journey has just been eye-opening to know that for us as Black women, we're not in the data. I don't know what we can do to change this. I've gotten like 2 second opinions. I'm going for a third opinion just because during this journey I've talked to my doctors, and when you tell them, they don't like for you to advocate for yourself, and they don't like for you to do your research and have those questions. And so that has really, for me, has been the scariest part, because my life is in my team's care. And when my life is in my team's care and I don't necessarily trust them because they don't have the answers, that's what's scary. The disease is not scary. The disease is not scary. The disease is just part of the process. The disease is part of the journey. The disease is part of what's going to push me to be able to tell my testimony. During the time that I went through treatment, and even my frequency therapist, she said, you know what? She said, surprisingly, she said, you are very healthy. She said, I've never seen a person be this healthy and be diagnosed with breast cancer. And I told her, I said, well, I know this is not breast cancer. This is unhealed emotions. And she gave me an exercise to do on forgiveness. And the one thing I can tell you all about forgiveness is forgiveness, honestly, and prayer is what saved me. Because once I forgave and I let the weight of that just get out of my body, and I just spoken, I felt so much lighter. Every time I went to treatment, nails, hair, makeup, clothes, like they were looking at me like, this woman gotta be crazy. I'm not crazy, I'm a child of the Most High. I'm a child of the Most High. And so when I walked in there and I stood on business. And I wanted to be a light, because I don't know if you all have been in CCI, but sometimes when you go in there, it is the saddest, most depressing thing, because those people walking there, they are defeated before they even hit the door. So I wanted to be a light for them. I did not embody I didn't ring the bell. You know, they do the woven crochet hats. I said, I don't want them. I said, I'm just passing through to learn. And I know they were kind of offended. I said, I'm just passing through here to learn, y'all. I said that, you know, that's it. And so it has just taught me that your body keeps score, and you're gonna have to deal with yourself at some point. And it has just, I have my bad days. I'm not gonna lie, I have my bad days, and I have had so much love. I have had so much support from my husband, my daughters, my mom, my dad, my sisters. But cancer is a very lonely journey. You can have 1 million people supporting you, but it is very lonely because they don't, the concept of, we're gonna leave this earth, you know, but a regular person can wake up and walk outside. Things might be able to happen, but every day I wake up, I'm carrying something that is invisible that affects my life. And it is a lot of mental stress. It is a lot of mental stress, but I pray every day. Every day I pray, I meditate, I listen to my frequencies, I get quiet. It has taught me, you know, a lot of people say that self-isolation is bad. Self-isolation was good for me because what it did was it cleared out the clutter. It cleared out the noise. Sometimes we normalize the noise and we don't even understand we're normalized. So we can't even hear God. We can't even hear what he's saying because we have normalized the noise so much. So in that isolation, I was able to hear more than I have ever heard before. And I'm gonna be fine. I know that I am going to be fine. My treatment plan consisted of chemotherapy, a mastectomy, radiation, reconstruction, and maintenance. I declined the radiation. When the doctor told me the treatment plan, he said radiation, God said don't do the radiation. And I had to sit in that. And one thing about it, and I always tell people, when you talk about intuition is your God compass. If you listen and if you believe, and you also have to understand if you're operating from a space of ego and fear. So that's where the obedience came from, of just sitting in it. And I said no. I said no to the radiation. When I had my mastectomy, they took out they removed the breast, they took out the lymph nodes, and they took out a big margin. The doctor said all margins are clear. And that's all I needed to know. So right now I am currently going through the end of my treatment. I have 7 more cycles to do, which is a maintenance treatment. I have not been back since December 23rd. I had a very, very bad experience, and it scared me to death. And I just didn't go back, but I'm going back this Thursday to finish out my treatment. But for those of you all who have faced cancer or know somebody that is dealing with cancer, you don't have to embody it. You don't even have to accept it, honestly. And I don't believe that's living in illusion and delusion when you are a child of the Most High. I don't believe that. And he's a miracle worker. We all know that he can do miracles, whether it be small or whether it be big. So that's, I'm not a long-winded person. I'm kind of, get to the point, straight to the point. And I'm just happy to be here to be able to share my story, because I know that when we hear that word cancer, it's scary. We feel like it's a death sentence, but it's not a death sentence. No, we're not in the data, but there has been, amazing strides in technology as it pertains to different treatments, immunotherapy treatments, targeted therapy treatments. And I believe that it's going to advance and get better. But the thing that I have learned is to deal with yourself, deal with your unhealed emotions, forgive. You might not be able to forgive, but forgive so that you can get the emotions out of your body. And the main thing for me is that I want to advocate for Black women in this space, because we're not in the data, and it's very, very scary. If I look at my daughters and I'm like, this could be genetics, they're not in the data. And so I think all in all, my mission now is just trying to work with doctors, oncologists who are open to help Black women get in the studies. And I know it's scary. When I told the radiologist, I said, hey, I'm not doing this radiation. And she said, why? I said, because you bought me a study from 2012, first of all, and it's 2025. Wow. Secondly, what is the percentage of black women that's in this data? She said, oh, Miss Howell, I'm so sorry. It's 70% Caucasian, the other 30% is amongst black, Asian, Hispanics. I said, I'm not even in there, but you want me to make this decision. And she got very frustrated. And I told her, I said, well, you know, just throughout history, I said, we're scared. Sometimes we are scared to do the test and we are scared to get in the data, but if we don't get in the data, then there is no future when it pertains to different treatment plans for black women. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Ms. Joyce, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I grew up in this church. My father is Frank D. Wilson, Mr. Frank. He says hello. And I wish him and my mom would have been here to see this, but you know, time catches up with us. But I will be able, my husband recorded it, so I'll be able to show them the recording, and that is just like they were here. So thank you for having me. If you have any questions, I'm, you know, open to answer any questions that anybody might have. Any questions that somebody may have? Yes.
I have one.
Yes.
Take the BRCA analysis test?
Yes. I have no genetic mutations. I got my genetic test in 2017, and I have no genetic mutations. I have an aunt that had breast cancer. She didn't die of breast cancer. I have a cousin, she passed from breast cancer, and I have a sister. She had breast cancer. I think she was misdiagnosed, but there's no, I mean, that's the only family history, but there's no genetics at all. So I do believe that it just came from a large amount of stress. Yeah, stress is the number one killer, y'all. Yes, ma'am.
That's true. In your discussion, I hear a lot of patients say radiation and chemo, and I heard you say that you did not take the radiation.
Yes, ma'am. So the radiation is more of a targeted therapy. So what the radiation would have done, it's not systematic, it's not for distant reoccurrence, it's only for local. So the radiation would have only got to this area. I would have had to went 5 days a week for 5 weeks. And I'm okay. I'm okay with that decision. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, it's Russian roulette. You know, there are some patients, I know people who healed themselves with no treatment. I know people who went through treatment who died. I know people who've done radiation, and the cancer comes somewhere else. So you just have to listen to your spirit, your intuition, which is God. You just have to pray. You have to be okay with your decision. Now, just because I made that decision does not mean that I don't do the work. Now, it can't be an illusion of delusion. That means that I have to eat right, I have to diet, I have to exercise, I have to not stress. You know, there's so many other things when it comes to environmental, toxins in your body and stress and stuff like that. So I still have to do the work on my side. Yes, ma'am.
But in the process of that, you noticed something about your body right off, right?
When I got my first diagnosis,
Yeah.
when I found it, it was just like a little bitty, like a mosquito bite. It was just a mosquito bite. I wasn't sick. I didn't feel any type of anything. It was just like a small mosquito bite, and I thought it was a coffee binger. I do have cystic breast, and I thought it was perimenopause because I had a hysterectomy. I still have my ovaries, but sometimes that can produce those extra hormones. So I just thought it was that. Yes, ma'am.
As a stylist, do you think the chemicals may have contributed to your diagnosis?
I can't say no, but what I will say is during all the years that I was a stylist, I made sure I protected myself with gloves. You know, a lot of stylists, we kind of got away from doing the gloves, doing relaxers, and you rinse them out because you just get lazy. I'm gonna be honest, you just get lazy. But I've always been a person to protect myself. Now, if I want to backtrack in 2016, and this is what I found through some research. In 2016, I went to a new OBGYN. He did this blood panel. Never had an OBGYN do this. Got my blood panel back, and he said, well, Miss Howell, have you been, at this time, I was looking great. I thought it was because I was, overworked. I was working a lot. He said, you are severely anemic. You really probably need a blood transfusion. That's how my journey at CCI even started, because I was getting I had to go to get iron transfusions over there. During my research, what I have found is that some doctors make claims that when you are severely anemic like that, that is early signs of cancer. You become anemic due to stress. Stress causes the mitochondria in your body to be damaged, which then causes leaky gut. And once you get leaky gut, your body does not have any nutrients. It doesn't hold any nutrients, so your body is under constant attack all the time. So I do believe that the constant stress that developed the anemia is part of why I'm here, which again is due to unhealed emotions, anger, rage, resentment, and unforgiveness. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you made some products before. I think I bought some a long time ago. With your journey now, do you think you may go into more vegan, like lipsticks and that kind of thing?
Well, the lipsticks were gluten-free, paraben-free, non-comedogenic. Some of the formulas were vegan. I don't know, because I actually shut my line down. Once I had the diagnosis, I just kind of let it go. And prior to that, I had lost it to a trademark issue. So I don't know. I do have some beauty stuff in play, but I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go back into that space, because it's a little bit oversaturated right now. And I'm just kind of at the point to where I feel like I need to do something a little bit more purposeful and meaningful, which is where my lifestyle brand Soft Boss comes into play. And that's basically for women who are entrepreneurs, even stay-at-home moms. Like, you're just functioning in this high-functioning space and you don't know how to get out of it. So how can you balance that? Because once you're a boss, you're always a boss. But how can you get to the soft life of that? So it's more about emotional regulation, and self-preservation, not abandoning yourself, because though women are in the workforce and they're being entrepreneurs and leaders and CEOs, we're not meant to function like that. So we have to be able to come back to center and come back to ourselves. So for me, just the space that I'm in, I really want to gear more towards that.
Will we hear some more about Soft Boss as you go along?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to be officially launching on April 1st. I'm going to have a community that women can join. Me and my husband also just have an office, so the women can come there. It's a safe space. We're going to, do content. We're going to have seminars. We're going to talk about wealth building. We're going to talk about emotional system regulation. We're going to talk about, especially for myself, when I was in my entrepreneurial journey, mom guilt. A lot of entrepreneur women hold mom guilt because they were so busy that they missed moments in their children's lives. So it's gonna be good, but I feel like it takes, you have to know that you want to be in that space. I think a lot of women want to wear the superwoman cape. Some are pressured into it, and then some of them, they just fall into their lifestyle, and I don't desire that, to wear the cape anymore. Anybody else?
I'm gonna tell you thank you for coming. It's not easy talking about this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Address the group. Very informative. I really did get a lot out of this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I was listening, and nursing was my area, so I read a lot. And with the demographics, with several of my family members, males, have died, lack of education, not going to the doctor. But the person that I made mention of, her husband, that's why I reiterate with black men.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go to the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to go to legally sign, because of what we were in prayer. She told me that he saw some irregularities when he was going to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know something, when you're urinating, or you see something in your urine, it's a sign.
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
need to go and take care of yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? He didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
He fell out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had to carry him to the hospital.
Mhm.
Then all of the tests started with checking him out. I think he said he had to have, and some of you might know more about it, I think he had to have 16 punctures here, just to see what was what.
Yes.
That was one day. Then another week, they had to go back again, another 16.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, and I stand my husband and he beats me to the doctor, but I'm just saying with our men and our brothers,
Mm-hmm.
you need to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Now, when my brother had the cancer, he knew it was irregularity.
Mm-hmm.
So when he talked with the doctors out there at MD Anderson, they told him they saw something with his blood count. The numbers were not right.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went and they told him, this is what we need to do, he didn't hesitate.
Yep.
He said, let's go ahead and do what we need to do. So, that's what I'm saying. Lack of knowledge is on you.
Yes.
If you don't reiterate, that's on you.
Yep.
So I emphasize, all these men here, there should be more men here, simply because they walking around, it's a time bomb. They don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And see what up, we more vocal.
Yes.
If it's something, we gonna run to the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
And most of us have to push our husbands. So, I just said, I thought about that,
Yeah.
because had my brother not, I might have been going to a funeral or something. But
Yes,
he didn't
ma'am.
take the
Yeah.
radiation and he didn't take the chemo.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Yes. Yep.
All right, thank you, Sister Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
This is a presentation to Demi. We thank her so much for coming out to
Thank you
bless
for
us
having me.
with her testimony. I learned a lot, just listening to her. Yeah, we all did. And we really appreciate her, and we will continue to pray for her.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can look like a glam boss like her.
Thank you.